Hello and welcome to this video tutorial of how to set up and use Veritas SaaS Backup, or in short VSB. VSB is a platform for protecting popular SaaS applications such as Office 365, Google Suite and Salesforce.com. In this tutorial, I will guide you through how easy and simple it is to set up Office 365, find content that you wish to recover for an end user, and finally demonstrating one of the many unique features of Veritas SaaS Backup that allows you to instantly roll back in time for entire SaaS tenants. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to our mailbox ask.veritassasbackup@veritas.com. I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. Veritas SaaS Backup is a SaaS solution where customers do not need to install anything on-premise. It runs completely online and is accessible through a web browser. You can see the 3 regions available to customers in the map, and it's guaranteed that data will be stored at rest inside these regions: Americas, EMEA and Asia Pacific. Each of the regions has its own unique URL, as they are not interconnected in any way to comply with GDPR. To log in, you need to enter your username and password, which has been supplied directly on fulfillment via email. Veritas SaaS Backup also supports leveraging existing identity infrastructure such as AD and ADFS or any other SAML2 compliant identity provider. This allows your customers to leverage their multi-factor authentication should they have such. It is also possible to set up different SaaS backup roles, for example providing first-level support agents restricted access. These technical features are further documented in the detailed security document available on Sales Central. So once logged in, you will be taken directly to the main screen, which will actually pop up a splash screen for customers for the first run, so they get a graphical overview of what the process is to set up a backup connector to Office 365, Google Suite or Salesforce.com. This is for information purposes and will not do anything automatically. So let's close this one down. And I will just, before we set up an actual connector, just give you a quick tour of the main features of the screen. At any point, you can always click the SaaS Backup logo and be taken home to this main screen. On the top right corner, you can click the account information, sign out, and go into settings. In settings, you will be able to change basic informations such as name and email address, language preferences, set a new password. You will be able to identify your subscription, see the expiry date of the subscription, and whether auto-renew has been set on or off. We recommend customers choosing auto-renew to avoid suspension of this service because they forget to renew actively. Finally, you will get an overview of entitlement, how many licenses are being used, and what is the limit. At any point in time, customers can request upgrade or they can request a cancellation. Furthermore, users have the option to sign out everywhere, which is the user account for the Veritas SaaS Backup, which is being signed out. All the connectors will continue to run their backup as normal. Alongside with the account information, we also have a small menu where you will be able to access the favorites, shared links, and access support. So without further ado, let's get right to it and set up a connector. Before setting up backup of an Office 365, you need to have your global admin credentials at hand. Otherwise, Veritas SaaS Backup is not able to back up everything that is included in your Office 365. Once you have that at hand, click Add, and then choose the Office 365 admin connector. Provide a logical name, and click Next. If this is the very first time we create a connection between Veritas SaaS Backup and Microsoft, we will be prompted for our credentials, but also the permissions required at Office 365 for Veritas SaaS Backup to function. You will need to accept these permissions for Veritas SaaS Backup to function. Microsoft will then redirect us back to VSB to complete the setup of the connector. The final step in configuring the backup is to choose the individual Office 365 workloads. I will choose to include everything from Exchange, Calendars, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Groups. And then secondly, I need to choose my users. I can choose individual users, I can choose to include all the users that exist currently. And then at the end, I can also ask Veritas SaaS Backup to include all new users that get added to my Office 365 account. Click Save, and we are done. The initial backup has already begun. You can at any time reconfigure the connector, but also monitor the progress of the backup by hovering over the status. This concludes setting up backup of the entire Office 365 tenant in 3 steps. I'll now show how easy it is to browse and find a piece of content that a user might have lost or accidentally deleted. For this purpose, I have signed into another account where I have a connector that has been running backup for some time of Office 365. From here, I can immediately start browsing my backup set. I will always start browsing the latest version that we have of the backup. I can see here at the first level, I have groups, sites, and users. Sites are actually the SharePoint, and users have individual workloads as well. So here I can actually go down and see all my users of my account. Very easily, I can jump into a user and I can see the individual workloads. This connector has been configured to include Outlook, Tasks, Calendar, and Contacts, but also very importantly, in-place archive. OneDrive has not been included in this. But let's say we need to go into Outlook for this particular user and find a piece of content. I remember that Dan asked about something about a press release. Let me just write press. And we have a press release. Immediately I can click on the press release and read the email to see, is this the correct email that has gone missing? I can now also share a link with Dan or with the user requesting this restore. This sharing can be done on a time-limited purpose and it can be protected by a password. This email link could be shared via email or any other mean. I can also choose to download the press release email directly in an EML format that can be automatically opened in Outlook. Finally, I can also go in and restore it in place by clicking Restore and then being asked if I want to restore this press release. The Restore in Place feature will place it in the same location as it was originally backed up from and override any existing content. Other options for restoring exist and we'll go through them in the later stage of this tutorial. Finally, I can also see if this email version exists in different versions. This email is actually 7 days old and no other versions exist of this. I could also have chosen to search for the sender, Alan, and I can see suddenly that Alan is actually part of 3 emails that I could choose. And again, clicking on email, making sure that we have the right email at hand. Very, very unique for a backup solution that you can preview content like this. Now let's imagine that the user has lost a file some time ago, and I need to go back in the historical versions of Veritas SaaS Backup to get the item back. At any given point, I of course can see the different versions of a given file by just choosing versioning. But if the file or email is not part of the latest backup, this feature is not able to see the different versions that exist of a given file. The cool way in Veritas SaaS Backup is that we can travel in time. It's similar to what Apple Mac users know as the time machine. You can access the historical snapshots in Veritas SaaS Backup by clicking the computer icon at the top left corner, choosing History Snapshots, and gives us a list of the different snapshots that exist. I can load more, and I can click on a specific snapshot, and Veritas SaaS Backup will present me with the data of the user's tenants as they existed 7 days ago. So everything that has arrived after 7 days ago is not part of this. Any changes that have been made from 7 days ago till today will not be shown because it's showing the image of the tenant as it looked 7 days ago. I can browse, preview, download, share exactly as it was the latest snapshot I was looking at, but this time I'm looking historically at it. So I can go into a user's email box. Let's go into David, and I can go into his Outlook, find his inbox, and I can retrieve a mail that was deleted 6 days ago because I'm now 7 days back. Still, again, I can preview the email and see, yes, this was the email that David lost. I can also make sure that I can share a link. And the cool feature of the time traveler feature is that I can pinpoint this link to a specific version in time, so that when David opens up his email with the link to this email, he will actually be able to see it as it looked 7 days ago. Again, I can set the time limitation, I can set a password, and then basically just share a link. Finally, of course, I can download the individual email, or I can also click on restores. This restore will do exactly the same thing as we saw before. It will restore in place, override the existing content if that exists, but in this case, David lost this email called extra shift 6 days ago, so we rolled back to 7 days ago and found the email and restored it back. In the unlikely event where a user's inbox or OneDrive SharePoint site has been hit by ransomware and completely corrupted, and a full restore is needed, Veritas SaaS Backup has the tool to handle those situations. You can, from the main screen, initiate a complete restore on a user level or tenant level. This is not thought to be a common scenario, as there are so many other tools for day-to-day operations inside Veritas SaaS Backup, as we just saw. But I will now go through some of the main features of the restore options that you have running Veritas SaaS Backup. Clicking the gears icon gives us an opportunity to access the tenant level restore feature. The tenant level restore feature requires us to choose when do we want to roll back to. I will now choose 7 days ago. I can select a method saying I want to restore into a particular folder, or I want to restore in place and override any existing content that exists. I can choose whether I want to restore only parts of my workload, or all my users, or just individual users. I would recommend just select the one user that you're focused on, select the workload, and then start the restore. Probably if content still exists in the Office 365 tenant and the user has that content, we would probably recommend to restore the data back into a folder. This gives an opportunity for the user to understand that this is the data that has been restored into your account, and they can go by themselves and divide that content out into the right folders. Very simple. Another option that exists in Veritas SaaS Backup is the opportunity to import data. And you can actually import data from the same connector to the same connector. This is also being used for mergers and acquisitions or divestitures of companies where they can actually mix and match users and create new tenants and move the content from one tenant of Office 365 to another. But the most common scenario is that you have a company, educational institution, that has a high turnover of part-time employees that are part of a project, and suddenly the project owner would like to see the files of one user that has left the team to be part of another user coming in. Please remember in those cases to retrieve the consent of the departing employee. You can then choose to say, I want to import it from the same demo account, and it will go into the demo Office 365. I can choose whether it should be the latest snapshot or several days ago. I can also, in this case where we actually import data, decide whether I want to rename the duplicated files. if I want to overwrite duplicated files, or I want to skip duplicated files. Finally, I can again choose the different workloads that I wish to actually migrate between the two tenants or the users. And I can also ask Veritas SaaS Backup to create an entire account, including sub-accounts. Then I will actually go in and say I want to make sure that Anne will actually get migrated into Alicia's account. But I only want to make sure that she gets the OneDrive files. And I want to make sure that the files are renamed. And I know that Anne left 6 days ago, so it doesn't make sense to take a snapshot that is earlier than that. And I can click Import. And then we'll actually start the import. I have now shown the most important features and configurations of Veritas SaaS Backup and the simplicity that comes with it. I just wanted to make a final remark on monitoring progress and completed snapshots. When you are on the main screen, you can always hold your mouse over Last Update. Veritas SaaS Backup operates with two timestamps. One is for every time Veritas SaaS Backup connects to the SaaS application to check for changes, and the other one is when actual changes was detected and a backup was completed. When hovering over the timestamp, you can see that it shows both. When did it last check in and when did the last update occur? And there might be a difference between those two snapshots. Customer will always be able to verify the number of backups by looking at the list of snapshots as they represent a completed backup. So clicking into the tenant that you wish to examine, click the history snapshots, and they actually, each one of them, represent the different backups that have run for a given period of time. In a future demo video, I will also speak about more advanced configuration scenarios, and here we will cover both audit logs, system logs, and associated messages. I will also touch upon the options for customers to directly integrate with their current infrastructure and monitoring system, which is very easy because it can be done via the complete API exposed from Veritas SaaS Backup. Again, and thanks for watching. Remember that ask.veritas SaaS Backup at veritas.com is open 24/7, as is the Sales Central for more information on Veritas SaaS Backup. Have a great day.